Hi everybody, we're just giving a couple of minutes just to allow the last few attendees to register, so if you please just bear with us, we'll be with you very shortly. Thank you. Well, hello everybody, and again, apologies for that slight delay there, but hello. My name is Duncan Milstead. I'm a Business Development Director here at Alexa Translations, and I'd like to welcome you to this, the first in our series of webinars on translations within the financial services sector. Today's webinar, everything you'd like to know about securities translation, is designed to look at the translation process from an operational client perspective. Our aim is to provide you, the viewer, with insights and best practices drawn from our expert panel's 80+ years in managing regulatory reporting cycles. Our panel, comprised of fintech, operational and regulatory compliance experts, will be sharing with us some of the problems they've experienced, solutions implemented, and the resulting benefits. We would encourage you to take part in today's webinar via the Q&A function at any time throughout the session, where our panel will be happy to field any questions that you may have. I'd like to thank you for joining us, thank our panel, and thank today's sponsor, Neo Exchange. The Neo Exchange has been making waves as Canada's stock exchange for the innovation economy, bringing together investors and capital raisers within a fair, liquid, efficient, and service-oriented environment. Fully operational since June 2015, Neo is a non-venture exchange that puts investors first and provides access to trading across all Canadian listed securities on a level playing field. Neo is currently home to over 125 corporate and ETF listings, and consistently facilitates close to 15% of all Canadian trading volumes. With that, I'd like to introduce our moderator for today's session, Eric Stein, Chief Revenue Officer of the Neo Exchange. Take it away, Eric.
Thank you very kindly, Duncan, and thank you very much for the team for giving me the opportunity to moderate such an esteemed group of panelists today. To our audience, appreciate you joining us from your home offices, living room sofas, wherever you might be hiding for this interactive session. It should be a pretty interesting topic of conversation on translation in the securities industry. As Duncan mentioned, we're here for about 50 minutes or so. We'll keep it tight today so you can get back to your regularly scheduled afternoon, and do flow through those questions. I'll try and work them in through the course of our discussion today. If they don't fit our topic, I'll hold them for the end. So, to all things translation, the team at Alexa has assembled an all-star crew with us, including a number of their clients. We're going to discuss the journey many of them and you are on now in this digital world as you work to address the myriad of translation needs across your respective organizations. At a minimum, we live in a bilingual nation, and I know a good many of you also function out of necessity, in some cases convenience, in a number of other languages to support clients and partners, ourselves, Neo included, in that need. So I'll try and navigate our group of panelists today through some of their previous and current challenges, where and when and why they decided to bring in an external partner to support their needs, and we'll try and traverse those benefits over the course of our conversation today, both intended and perhaps unintended ones as well through that experience. Then I'm very pleased and very thrilled to welcome our panelists. I'll ask perhaps each of you in sequence to share a very short, no more than 30-second introduction on yourselves, your organization, and your role, just so that our audience today has a bit of a view on your position, where you're coming from, and your experience as you're answering questions, and we chat on from here. Jackie, I'll maybe start with you as CCO at Caldwell Investments.
Thank you. Yes, I am the Chief Compliance Officer of a firm. The firm being domestic, it's a portfolio manager and investment fund manager. It is, in terms of number of employees, a relatively small shop. So notwithstanding my official CCO role, really you get into everything. So a bit of operations, a bit of finance translations, interacting with regulators and investors and distributors alike. So this topic is dear to my heart because I was the one who pushed the initiative. So happy to share on any front of how I came to that conclusion.
Great. Thank you, Jackie. Mark Northey, we'll start next with you, Operations Specialist at SEI Investments.
Hi, my name is Mark Northey. I've been at SEI Investments for about 23 years now. The past 12 years, I've been working with the compliance team to do the MRFPs and fund facts. Also just recently started working on simplified prospectus as well. I also do some of the financial statement translation.
Brilliant. You're right into all the fun stuff that I'm sure the Alexa crew enjoys chatting with you on. Thank you. Yep. We'll move to Anne Greenwood, VP Client Success at our own Alexa Translations. Anne?
Hi, thanks. Yeah, I've spent my 30+ career years primarily in business development roles, and the last 15 years or so I've focused on regulatory and compliance solutions for securities. And I've really specialized in introducing and launching many new technologies during this time, automated publishing solutions, continuous disclosure automation programs, e-delivery, online ordering solutions, document customization, and most recently with Alexa's AI translation tool for legal and securities documents. And really my goal has always been for my clients to leverage innovation and technology to really streamline processes, drive down costs, and provide workflow efficiencies. So hopefully today I can provide some kind of help or insights in terms of best practices for securities translations from a vendor perspective.
Thank you. And last but not least, Edwin Chan, who is the VP and Corporate Controller at Purpose Investments. Edwin, over to you.
Yep. So I lead up the finance group at Purpose Investments, but being able to join at kind of the start of the firm, I had the pleasure of really building up a lot of the infrastructure that's in place that's used for our kind of reporting, financial statement reporting, MFRPs, and really working with Alexa to build up a good streamlined process to ensure we're able to fulfill all our documents in both English and French.
Brilliant. Well, that should give our audience a bit of a view on roles, responsibilities, capabilities, and how it all comes together under the Alexa banner. With introductions done, let's get straight to it. Jackie, when we were having our pre-call as a panelist, one of the things that struck me just in all of our discussions was the broad range of things that we all stand to benefit from. But before we get to those, let's maybe talk a bit about the challenges. You've been in this industry for a long time. You've seen a lot of different sides of the street, and frankly, a lot of the different parts attached to operations and delivering some of these experiences out to clients. What kind of drove you to start looking at opportunities to improve or enhance the business as it pertains to the translation work you guys are doing?
Sure. One of the first things I did, because I happen to be bilingual, is I actually read the documents, which nobody but a CCO, perhaps maybe legal counsel, actually is apt to do. But I read them in both languages, and it stood out to me almost immediately the lack of consistency in describing, for example, funds, the fund strategy, the fund investment objective, and even in some of the marketing. and that's, that drove me to ask the obvious question, well, why? It's the same fund. Why isn't it, said or translated in the same way? And when you peel that onion, you realize most firms use what's most convenient in relation to the documents. So, for example, your auditors will deal with the financial statements and the notes, et cetera, to the financial statements. Perhaps your outside counsel will work on prospectuses or fund facts. And then you may have a different firm that helps with marketing materials. But the reality of it is the same fund, and there should be overlap and there should be consistency. I would say the next thing that I peeled the onion on, which really drove the need to think about a better way to do this, was the dollars. And what I mean by that is, if you are translating using 4 or 5 or however many providers you have, some of the same overlapping content is being retranslated, if you will, by different people or providers, and you're paying for it, or the fund or whomever, somebody is paying for it. So now we're paying on a redundant basis, and we're paying to get different results. I mean, how does that make sense? That's my first thought. That's the accountant in me. And my last point I'll say is, looking as an investor, this is about your brand. If you can't articulate consistently in a language the same thing about a product or a strategy, or whatever your thing is, I mean, what does that say about you? Does that mean the portfolio manager flips and flops as well? Like, it's part of your image, right? And you need to be able to do things efficiently, cost effectively, but you need to put out there on the street a perception of you that, you are repetitive, you know what you're doing, you're saying it consistently, and it doesn't matter, or it doesn't change because you happen to prefer the document in French versus English. So
I think
I'll
that's
pause there.
I think that's a critical point. The legal end of it, obviously important to be consistent. I think that's tenet number one, that what you say in one language as much as you can, and I know not always words are mappable, will translate well into something else. The marketing piece is actually very important, and it's the perception that you as a firm are able to effectively deliver that back out into the investment universe with the same consistency. Maybe Bridget, Edwin, you've been working at Purpose. You had the chance to build a lot of these things up from the ground up, and had the benefit, I think, of seeing a ton of other experiences around the street before jumping into the chair and being asked to do it. Like, you've been clients of Alexis for a long time. What drove you back into their arms, so to speak, to build it the right way within the Purpose organization?
Actually, I think Jackie's point was kind of one of the main driving factors, is really dealing with multiple service providers to translate kind of different documents and really fitting that need. What we came to this kind of come to Jesus moment when we kind of did an acquisition, and we're really running two identical processes with two multiple sets of vendors helping us provide these services, and we found things were just completely inconsistent. It was inefficient from both the staffing point of view as well, just because it was confusing for the team to figure out, what I have to do with a certain document, or who do I need to get the work completed by. So what we found was, let's find the best lawyer to do our legal work, best accountants to do our accounting work, and really find a good specialized translation service that can handle all the translation needs. And what that really did was really streamline our internal process. So people knew where to go for who was responsible for each element, and it was very clear cut from the very beginning.
Streamlining efficiency and really harmonizing a number of different organizational functions into a single focused expertise was critical for you guys.
Yeah, and I believe, like, I think the piece I want to just kind of emphasize is also the accountability aspect of it, and just knowing that your contact at Alexa was accountable for delivering translation on schedule. You always knew who to follow up with, and who to kind of hold accountable for the deadlines, versus sometimes it's a little more murky when you're working through the lawyers or accountants in their respective translation departments.
Makes perfect sense. And maybe a good segue into you. You've been around the technology end of the business for a long time, working with clients across technology and presumably some of the other streams as you work to streamline and kind of disrupt their own business, make them more efficient. What made you kind of take a really fresh look at the Alexa team, join them, and start building up their journey, and do stories like Jackie's and Edwin's really click true, and where do you want to kind of see that go? What's your mission with the Alexa team?
Well, I was really excited with the AI, at the possibility of AI, particularly for these securities documents, because they're so repetitive. And stories like with some of the big banks, even, where they've got 100, 200, 300 funds, and there's a change that's made in one of those funds to be able to effectively manage those changes across all of the documents, having an English change made that needs a French translation change made super quickly is invaluable when you have a translation tool and CAT tool and AI translations to kind of manage that. And to Jackie's point, where you've got the results of operation, for example, which is pretty standard across the funds, and funds have increased and decreased by certain points for certain reasons, but all of that, AI does an amazing job at doing that translation. And it's not just a machine translation, it's kind of the AI learns your speak, like how your company speaks, to be able to deliver that. So with the timelines that are so tight, the impact of these costs to the MER of the funds, I just really felt it was very exciting to have a tool and a technology that can provide that accuracy and consistency and speed for these documents.
I like it too. Partner for the funds industry, and I know your efforts obviously go far and wide beyond funds as well. I alluded at the beginning, Alexa has been a great partner of ours here at NEO, as well as a Canadian Stock Exchange, with a number of our documents along the way, and always responsive service line, full reach and capability, and that goes beyond English and French, which has actually been incredibly helpful from time to time. Mark, I'd like to bring you into the conversation as well, and share with the group a bit some of your experience working within the MRFPs, my apologies, and some of the other reporting documents that you're coming through now. How did you kind of come to meet the Alexa group?
I took over the MRP process about 12 years ago, and that was all done in Quark Express. So it's page layout program, and it was very tedious, and you had to really keep track of where you were. And once you get the English documents done, then all of a sudden, which would take forever, then all of a sudden rush to get it translated, and then it would come back, and you really don't have a lot of time to go and proofread these things that are, because they're just right before you file. Then we switched to the automated publishing system, which was fantastic, especially for fund facts, MRP, just incredible. And Alexa just fits right into that publishing system. It makes life so much easier. It gives you complete control over the document process as well too. And just by going and looking at the French, you see a whole bunch of different, maybe some inconsistencies and stuff, and now you're in control, and it's done immediately. You don't have, there's no waiting. It's French.
It sounds like you changed your
right
process a little bit there too, right? Instead of translation all at the end, it's now kind of interspersed in the middle, where you can control it and not have a gun to your head at the finish line.
That's right. Yeah, English. As soon as you update the English, you automatically update the French as well. So it's a good tool that fits right in with the Alexa is a good tool that fits in with the publisher.
Excellent. And have you used them prior to your work at SEI, or is this your first kind of endeavor with them? And how recently did you jump in with them? Yeah,
no, this is recent. This is fairly recent. I've been with Alexa for just a year now, so like two short little cycles. So I'm not an expert by all means, but some of the features like precedent documents is really neat. I could use that for like some of the press releases. I don't do any of the marketing stuff, but that is something that we may look into. Term-based translations are a real help when you're doing holdings information. Our French financial statements uses abbreviations for some of the holdings. So by prioritizing the term-based translation, it'll output some of these holdings with their appropriate abbreviations. So you just pop them right back into the publisher, and it gets updated. So
excellent. Well, Anne, you're very lucky here. You've got a number of clients singing your praise already, and we're only just starting. Jackie, perhaps bring it back to you. You've seen I think 3 or 4 different sides of the business and the needs for translation across the way. And I think also based on our previous conversation as well, the opportunity to actually drive and improve from previous efforts. Can you talk to us a bit about how you're settling in with the new role, and really where you came together with Alexa to help kind of transform that environment and solve some real challenges for you guys?
Yeah, no, sure. It's I think just really taking on something that Mark just said. I think for us, we had signed on just before the protocols and everybody working from home and dealing with the pandemic. But what's really important to note now, particularly beyond just the regulatory documents, is that we're doing everything like this webinar. Everything is electronic. Everything is quicker. Everything is more, let's call it on the fly, because there's a lot more of reach now. We got to do a presentation. Oh, I got to do one in French. Oh, this French advisor is reaching out to me. So I will say that the one of the biggest impetuses for me was, beyond the consistency, was, let's call it, turnaround time. And I would say that one of the things that appealed to me about Alexa in particular was that they use what I'm going to use this terminology, a lexicon. So as they get to know you and your preferred way to express a particular phrase, because things can be translated in a multitude of ways, that's your history, that's stored. So the next time you put together a document, whatever that document may be, it remembers that. So it's a quick turnaround, but it promotes the consistency. And I will say, when you're dealing with your auditors, and I think Edwin raised this, or you're dealing with the lawyers, the reality there is, whomever picked up your file and is reviewing it, you're going to get their preferences. And let's be honest, perhaps us here on this panel might review these documents in both languages, but very few people are doing that, and very few people are even giving thought to it. But to me, it's one of those, we cannot be treating our French-speaking community different in terms of how we can relay or communicate a message than the English-speaking community. No offense to currencies or investors, but a dollar is a dollar. Wherever it comes from shouldn't matter, right? French, English, or any other language for that matter. So if you can deliver consistency, and you can do it in a manner that has control, meaning this idea of the lexicon and Mark's comment about the technology that can just turn it around quickly, that's critical. The other thing that I didn't even think about, and perhaps some of the others have experienced this as well, we get so close to these documents, writing them, editing them, reviewing them. In order for a translator to translate them, obviously they're reading them. The wonderful surprise I got from Alexa and the team in particular is they caught English inconsistencies across documents. They caught English, I'll call them errors, right? Whether it's grammatical or even, Mark was alluding to, sort of style, right? Your formatting and your layout. And they catch that because as they are translating and reviewing, they see it. In all my career, I have never had auditors or external counsel point out to me in the translation process, oh, did you know out of these 16 different funds or 20 funds, 2 AIFs had this different, or MRFPs or fund facts, or pick your document. Never has that come out of translation, like ever. And so that's kind of the benefit. I think Edwin said it best. You go to lawyers for your legal advice, you go to your accountants for account. Well, if you go to the translation team for the translation, they're going to do the full spectrum that's associated with that. And that includes catching something that's off for them, meaning English, you've said it 2 different ways here. what's the right way. So to me, that's something that I don't think, well, I know I never thought about it. It was a pleasant surprise, but that's the beauty of using a professional, right? That focuses just on that.
I think Jackie made a great point there as well. Like inconsistencies are also between different documents as well. So like the lawyers working on the prospectus AIF might write a section that kind of gets repeated in the financial statement different. And that's where value is really added because they're providing that holistic picture as well.
Yeah,
so in effect, it's not just a translation. It's a broader kind of holistic documentation review that can benefit every other document you do going forward.
Correct.
Fascinating. And yeah, definitely an unintended consequence and a benefit, frankly, in this case. Edwin, I wanted to pull in something that Jackie mentioned here. You know, obviously a lot of things have changed in the last 12 months on how we're doing things. You know, how have you and the Purpose team ultimately responded and reacted? Has it changed the way you're doing your translation work? Are you doing more of it? Like how has that evolved for you over the last 12 months work from home?
So I think we were lucky because we had this process well established prior to working from home. So really not a lot has changed in terms of working with Alexa, but it's really been kind of small tweaks and minor adjustments that the team's been making as they work closer together. And it's really getting, and I think, I can't remember if it was Mark or Jackie that mentioned it, that we're now starting to plan further ahead. And Alexa's very involved in that planning of making sure, you know, we're able to manage everyone's schedule more comfortably as they work through different types of documents. Yeah.
Makes perfect sense. And things are moving faster, I can only assume. And I know you guys have had some fireworks in the last few weeks, obviously, that I'm sure pulled all of your partners together in quick format. So it's encouraging to see everybody rally together and still be able to deliver in this time and age. And maybe a quick one, like back to you, you know, you're working out on the street and you're chatting with, obviously with Jackie, Edwin, Mark, your existing client base, but I know selfishly as well in our current function where we're trying to find new business for the organization, getting people over that hurdle, perhaps in kind of a work from home environment to embrace a change, try something out. Like how have you been positioning Alexa into your new client base to see if you can get them to try out some of the Alexa services and benefit from some of the things you guys bring to the table?
Yeah, and you know, it is always difficult to introduce technology and new technology to our industry that is, you know, we're dealing with, you know, lawyers, accountants, compliance officers. They are, you know, very conservative, very risk adverse. And so to, you know, to try and take on something new, everybody wants to be second. There, you know, very few people want to be first. So getting, you know, kind of those you know, the number one clients are super important because then, you know, it is a small industry. Others do follow, but really, you know, focusing on the accountability and of the consistency and time savings, because, you know, we have our days are interrupted if you've got kids at home because schools are closed, and you've got added responsibilities because you've got different systems you have to use now that when you're not in the office. So all, you know, how do we find time? How do we make time and that really comes from building out and embracing technologies. And when you look at things like the consistent document consistency, and even pushing back with comments from the auditors, for example, you can say, you know, you can prove that these the translations are done this way consistently across all documents, or it was translated that way last year, so we don't want you to change it this year. It just adds a lot of accountability and transparency to the translation process.
Is there one particular part of the translation kind of process, whether it's, you know, legal documents or marketing, like where do you find now, maybe perhaps different from a year ago, people are most willing to engage, have a conversation, try something out with you? Like what would be your kind of 15-second pitch to somebody who is contemplating taking that jump with you, having heard what Jackie and Mark and everyone have put in front of us, where would you suggest they take a look?
Definitely AI-powered translations for securities is a great place to start. Marketing, there's so many different ways to say the same thing, but securities, you know, you need to get it right, and you need to get it right every time. So AI is perfect for that type of translation. But still, it doesn't translate like a machine. As I say, it learns your language. But definitely, just having that the nature of the documents really lends itself to the machine translation.
If I can add from the perspective of what sold me, and this isn't specific to Alexa, but just the concept that sold me on trying to leverage technology, but one translation provider, is frankly the long-term benefits in terms of cost savings, time savings, and control. And I say that because if it is this machine learned, lexicon sort of static thing, you are not retranslating everything every time. And prospectuses, these big, huge documents that happen theoretically, and I know everyone on this panel has experienced it, it's supposed to be annual, but we are forever making changes. We are forever doing amendments. We are acquiring, merging, another series, another class, another whatever. It's at least twice a year. Never mind the MRFPs and the financials and the everything else. So the fact that we maybe never thought of it in the past because, it's part of the audit, right? It's part of the audit fee. The audit always has to have an extra 2 weeks for translation. Well, no, it doesn't have to be that, right? The audit is the audit, and you sign off on the numbers and the, everything else that's in the disclosure, and then it should be running alongside. And that's the beauty of, I'll call it the Alexas of the world, is you can actually have translation happening side by side, so that as you make a change or as you continue your discussions with counsel or your auditors or whomever it is, and Mark said it best, you change one word, you change a phrase, you change this, boom, instant, practically, in French. Done. Not the wait until the audit is done, wait until the legals are signed off, and then start the process, right? It's stuff that I don't think historically I ever thought about it, but once the concept of AI was introduced to me, right away thinking long term, just as Edwin said, processes, internal controls, refining your internal everything, you start to realize that it's a huge savings in many ways, not just dollars.
Can you quantify that? Like, I'm a bit curious actually, because it's something that, and you said something that struck home for me. In Canada and our own experience as an exchange, and we've been lucky to have a lot of folks who want to go first, and we've had a good number and a lot more that say, hey, show us that it works and we'll come to you. Fast followers be second on the radar. Jackie, in your case, you've taken on a lot with the Alexa team, obviously in a short period of time, but from an efficiency cost perspective, like, are you able to kind of slam a rough percentage on what kind of either time efficiency or a dollar amount that you've been able to carve out based on externalized partnership?
I can say definitively on time, it's cut at least 2/3
Wow.
of the time, and certainly on dollars. I'm in the recurring phase now, so we've been through the initial learning and your first translations, etc. I mean, we are getting close to, not quite half, but we're getting closer to half.
That's impressive.
And I think year 3-year, 4, whatever you go out, it will continue to dwindle because, as Anne said, the AI, the technology part contributes quite a bit. And to Mark's point, it's quick, right? It whatever is happening in the English, boom, 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 quickly can just like flow through into pick your document, right? All of the French stuff. So, and I like the way Edwin positioned it. Your own people now know where to go for what, when. It's simple. It's like how you know to call your audit partner or which lawyer to call for which thing. This is like, oh crap, we've got something to do in French. I'm calling Anne. Whoever it might be, right? So it's I didn't think it would be as dramatic as it has been. I expected like benefits, substantial benefits, but it's been a pleasant surprise to be more dramatic than what I thought it would be this early on.
That's impressive.
On my end, as we've launched kind of new products and really kind of building a new set of documents, we've seen savings around 10 to 15% on kind of the new products as well, which I was pleasantly surprised with, just because it's really a brand new document that we're starting from scratch on, and we're able to leverage kind of, I'm guessing it's their database of lexicon and words to really, create efficiencies there as well.
Well, that means a lot too, because there is a lot of new business that happens while you're also maintaining your existing, and both obviously in this environment, maybe none more than ever, being hyper competitive. Everywhere you can squeeze and save hits the bottom line that can result in a more competitive product at the end of it. I like it. And you've heard a lot from your clients about features, things they like, things they have today. Where are you and the Alexa team head in the future? You mentioned AI. What's kind of that next bastion of excitement on the translation forefront that you'd like to share with us?
Well, it would be introducing new languages. That's the big thing right now. I mean, we very intentionally focused on the French Canadian market for our Canadian clients and securities clients. It's a big world out there. A lot of our clients are global, so they're asking for Spanish and Chinese are the next two languages, which we expect to have into our AI translation technology by the end of the year. But the niches that we have identified, which is the regulatory, legal, and compliance industries, are ripe for this technology. So we're trying to stay focused. But even as we move through to the US, the UK, and South America in these documents, for all the reasons that we've talked about, just because it's such huge volume, huge time turnarounds, regulatory risk, reputational risk involved, that you can, using technology to solve those problems will remain a key focus.
I like it. I know you and the team are always busy and looking for the next exciting thing that you can work on that obviously ties to your core, which is translation at the heart, and everything else can fall in around it. I like it. Maybe taking a step forward, looking at, we're in May as from next week already. And I know everybody has big plans to keep pushing through the business this year. Jackie, thinking about priorities on your end, obviously continuous improvement seems to be an evolutionary conversation for you. But if you were to lay out for our group, folks who are in your chair at other firms, where are you looking to drive forward on that front with your team and the group at Caldwell, and how might that kind of benefit both your relationship with Alexa, and maybe also, what else could folks benefit from learning from some of the work you put in over at Caldwell?
Sure. I think one of the things that that came sort of out of this whole drive for first efficiencies, but some of the benefits we've talked about that were pleasant surprises, is we continue to look at opportunities to to Streamline, and sometimes being just responsive to whether it's a regulatory change or I don't know, a client request or some current market trend, and just being responsive to it, doesn't, I mean, you got to do it, but you have to sort of have a little more foresight. So one of the things we just recently did, and for anybody who is listening that is part of the IFM world, the OEO trailer ban is an example of an area. And while technically there's a year to get it done, we actually took advantage of looking at, well, what's the timing of our renewal? What's the timing of all of these documents? Oh, if we wait until the 11th hour to do it, I'm going to have another translation. I'm going to have another set of file, prospectus documents, all of these wonderful things that we need to do. So when would be, how can I bring it earlier so that it's not more cost, but also not more translation and auditors and everybody else to deal with? So we're doing it actually this year, so I'll call it a year in advance, but it's our cycle, if you will. So it's our renewal of our documents. We're already doing some series changes and some other changes. So let's just throw that in here right now. And all of this sort of stemmed from this idea, right, of okay, being efficient, just streamlining, reducing edits, reducing a whole bunch of I don't know, I hate to call it overhead because I used to be one of those auditors, but let's call it overhead.
It's out there now. You can't take it back.
Well, because the reality is, all of us here are the ones who read these documents and deal with these documents, like, and the regulator. Really, let's be honest, who else? Even the fun facts, I know, super simple, a couple of pages, like, still, it's us, right? It's really not anybody else who's dealing with these things. So this is all to say, the thought of being very proactive is something that now, for me, translates into everything, even regulatory. Just using OEO as an example. I mean, that's just icing on the sort of cake type example, but there are so many other things that are coming down the pipe. ESG, you name it, whatever it is. So thinking efficiently and working with partners, including your translation partners, to do things at the best time that's more efficient, but is also cost saving. So I think, Eric, it was you who said, or maybe it was actually Anne, nobody wants to be first. So this is an example of being first is cheaper, is easier, is better, and actually sets a message, right? It's part of the brand. It's part of the, you're right, investor protection, or whatever the message is, ESG, etc. So this whole exercise and this whole pandemic year, if you will, for me has been transformative in the, how can we do what we do better, quicker, faster, cheaper, and get more wider audience, right? Like more bang for your buck, so to speak, through embracing technology and refining process.
I get back to doing what you as a firm, and you laid it out at the beginning, you're a fund manager, among other things, add value to your clients through other things that are core to your business and try and make other things as efficient as possible.
Right, exactly.
I like it. I like it. It rings true on so many levels with some of the work that we're up to over here at NEO as well. Mark, I'm a bit curious to bring you into the fold on the same line of question. Like looking at the year ahead, we're almost hitting the halfway mark. Like where are you focused? Where are you spending your time? And anywhere in particular you want to see that go as you're working with the Alexa crew?
Right now, we're working on the fund facts and prospectus renewal. And then we jump right into the semi-annual MRP. So right through to September, it's going to be just busy. After September, then I can get organized. That's when I do all of my, post-mortem on everything that went wrong and what went right and all that. So yeah, part of the things will be updating some of the term-based translations, some precedent documents, getting all that stuff together.
September is the earliest time you're going to get to take a vacation from all of this.
I squeezed some there, but you know, our place up north has the internet now, so I could work from up there if need be. So
bonus.
Yeah.
We'll be keeping eyes and checking in on you to see how your September review goes then, and curious to hear how the evolution proceeds over at SEI. Edwin, maybe last stand for you, thinking about the year ahead. You guys have already achieved a hell of a lot inside of 2021, but I know you guys, you're always pushing hard, as are others on the street. Where are you guys focused for the balance of 2021?
So I guess for us, it's really continuing to grow our fund lineup. So we are always thinking of new ideas and new product ideas. So I think that's where the benefit is we've had a couple of years where we have a good streamlined process. We had the chance to really make our documents a little more efficient. So, you know, we're always going to be looking to do that, similar to everyone else on this line. But that gives us the time and ability to really focus on what's next for our business and what's next for our clients. So like you mentioned, you know, at the beginning of the year, we were able to get into this crypto space, which really it met a client, call it a market demand. And we have a couple other kind of big ideas we think following on right after.
Nice.
That we're focused on.
I'd be curious to see how Alexa's database and lexicon dealt with some of what I'm sure are just absolutely foreign words in the crypto space.
We got some good, like it came in the quote, I shouldn't tell this to Gary, but the pricing was cheaper than I expected when we got those first set of French documents done. So we were happy with that. And the timeline, like you knew we were kind of, you know, the turnaround timeline was extremely short on both projects that we just completed. And
critical, no doubt, given the number of participants joining you to try and mint a world first. It's just incredible to watch. And maybe last turn to you, you know, looking at the balance of 2021, what you and the Alexa team are working to deliver. We talked a bit about future evolutions already and where you want to see the product go. Where are you spending your time outside of bridging kind of the Alexa world in? Where are you expending your efforts to drive improvement through the business?
Well, we're also looking at partnerships with a number of resellers, including like the major publishing automation firms, including InvestorCom, Broadridge, Affinity, to build out, and you know, that as well as the custodians to really ultimately help the clients and with all that automation. So building French translation into the process right from the beginning and leveraging AI either as a pure play or a full service is really I think going to continue to speed up those cycles. So and get to expand our market presence.
I like it. Well, I can assure you this. It sounds like you've got an incredibly both supportive and disruptive group of clients that are already championing Alexa's cause on the street. As one of them, I look forward to putting a few new terms into the Alexa lexicon ourselves as we launch a few new products into the market that I'm sure will give reason and some pause on translation along the way. So I'm very excited to be partners. To our audience, you know, it's been maybe a touch quiet on the chat box, which is great. It's given us time to have a number of kind of different and tangential discussions around translation, how it's kind of impacted us over the course of the last 12 months. You've heard a lot of very interesting information nuggets from the group of panelists here with us today about how they're all using translation as an opportunity to improve efficiency, improve accuracy, and really deliver value to their own parts of the organization that, you know, frankly, when externalized, weren't working as efficiently as I think having one partner in a very explicit arena of expertise has done. So I would say, and to you and the team at Alexa, obviously, it's been a ton of fun working with you guys over the years, and really enjoyed moderating this panel session with the group today. We'll maybe do a last round prediction, because I know everybody's always keen to inquire and ask the question about, first chance we're going to get to go and sit on a patio together and stop doing Zoom sessions and spend more time talking to people again. Edwin, I saw you smile already. If you were to slap a month on it, where would you put us? And winter months are okay, by the way.
Deep down, I was hoping, July, August, but realistically, I think it's going to be probably October, November before we're back out there and enjoying ourselves again.
Crossing my fingers. I don't mind October. That's not bad. Jackie, how are you guys talking about it in the Caldwell land?
Yeah, I think Edwin's right. I think maybe in terms of technically able to, in terms of all kinds of protocols lifted, etc., probably around there. But I'm going to guess most firms will just say, look, let's do January, right? And sort of say, look, it's coming to year end, Christmas vacations, or all of that kind of stuff. So kind of open the doors, if you will, in January, which to me is, way too many months far ahead. But so long as we can do things on a patio, maybe there'll be life back in downtown Toronto and downtown many other cities for that matter. Just give me a patio and I'll yell across a table.
I'll put on a parka to enjoy a beverage with all of you. That I can promise. Mark, if you were pegging a date.
I'm an optimist. I'll go for September.
Ooh, I like it. Warm weather.
Wow.
Yeah.
Warm weather. Yeah. And last close for you.
Just can't wait to have client lunches again. That I really miss that, and I'll take it anytime, starting with the summer and going right through and to our annual Christmas party that has always been something to look forward to. So I definitely hope to see everyone there.
There is a definitive opportunity for success at the end of the year. I like the way you think. Well, to our audience today, thank you very much for joining us. We certainly appreciate your time. I know there are a couple of parting remarks, so I'll hand it over, Duncan, back to you for a close.
Thanks very much. Thank you, Eric. Well, we hope your audience found that very interesting and useful. I know we did there. I think all in the industry can relate to the points and recognise the value that can be gained from the ability to build time back into these rigid reporting processes. Creating efficiencies to streamline the process, whilst, as we've heard, introducing consistency and improving accuracy across your suite of documents, all from a single partner. If you'd like to get in touch, visit our website. I'll include a link in the chat, so you can visit us at alexatranslations.com. And on behalf of Alexa, I'd like to thank our panelists and our sponsor, Neo Exchange. Please be sure to follow us on social. We'll have many more exciting webinars, as I alluded to earlier in the conversation, coming up specific to the financial services translation process. Stay safe, everybody. Thank you for joining us. And yeah, we look forward to seeing you in the future at future webinars. Thank you.
Thank you all. Have a great day.
Okay.